Hello parents, my name is Caitlin Corcoran and today I will be presenting on FSA third grade information. So it's our informational night. I teach third grade all subjects. I have certifications in elementary 1 through 6, special education K through 12, and pre-kindergarten through age 8 certifications as well. I'm currently working to get my master's in educational leadership and will be graduating in 2021. And I am working towards my reading endorsement and my ESOL endorsement, which will be completed by the end of 2020. I have been teaching third grade for 4 years now, going on my 5th, so I have some knowledge of how to administer the FSA and have a lot of information on how you can prepare your child, how you can be prepared, and different information on it as well. I have some testing experience. I'm a test administrator every year. I can also provide you with some information on accommodations and modifications for any of you that may have a child that has a disability. What is it? It assesses K through 12 students based on the Florida state standards to see if they are proficient or not. The assessment drives instruction for the year, so teachers base their instruction and what they're teaching on that test to prepare those students for that test, and they use the Florida state standards to do that. There are different monitors and different checks that they put in place to see as predictors to see if your child will pass, also based on those standards. So everything is kind of based around this test. It also holds the school and the teacher a little bit more accountable. A teacher's score is based on the outcome of the assessment, so the teacher is also a stakeholder in your child's success in terms of the assessment, as well as the school. The school gets a school grade at the end of the year, and for the following year, the team, the administration, the teachers, and everyone will meet to look at maybe a plan of how they can improve the school grade for the following year and target some of those lower performing kids and the higher performing kids, how to push them more. It's important for you because it's your child's first year in third grade. Also, it's based on retention and promotion and proficiency as well. So it's important in many different ways, and it's important to know what you will expect. There are a variety of things that will encourage FSA success. I believe that homework completion is very important. Despite your views on homework, it's important for you to be familiar with what your child is working on and helping them. And if you notice that they're struggling with something at home, being able to communicate that to the teacher is important as well. Team support, I call it the triad of support, the support between student, teacher, and parent. As long as each one of those facets are doing their part, your child has a great chance of being successful. Your child has to work hard, you have to be involved, and of course the teacher has an immense role in making sure your child is successful. For preparing for ELA, using a daily reading log will be successful. I think reading at least 15 minutes every day and being engaged in your child's reading will help prepare them. For math, being fact fluency is important. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division fluency. Multiplication is important for third grade, so there are ways to practice those facts at home. And indicators of success that the district uses. They use unit assessments based on the standards to predict how your child will do in a specific category, and the teacher uses that information to target them and provide small group instruction to assist them, as well as provide you with that knowledge that they may be struggling with something, and you could also utilize any other outside resources such as a tutor that might help them, as well as iReady, which is an online benchmark platform that determines what grade level students are on and what areas of that subject that students are struggling in. It also lets you know what percentage the student has of passing the FSA There's also other indicators as well, so you just don't take iReady as that, but it's one way to look at it. Any questions so far? Information on FSA ELA. State assessment is given to all third graders. The scores range from 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. 3 is considered your proficient score. 4s and 5s are considered above proficiency and your child is performing extremely well. A 2 means your child is below proficiency, and a 1 means your child is significantly below grade level and has a possibility of being retained. So if they receive that 1, that's where the retention becomes a possibility for your child. And of course, there are other steps that we would take to retain. Question types. There are multi-select questions. Select all. It won't always tell your child how many answers will be in that question. So it's important that they go through each one and use their strategies the teacher has taught them. And this is a paper-based assessment. Preparing for FSA, reading log, reading daily, at least 15 minutes. Engaging with your student in reading, having them read out loud to you, and asking questions, having them answer them. Practice assessments on the FSA website, which we'll go over at the end. Discussing the meaning of unknown words and communicating with your child's teacher. Any questions on FSA reading? Information on FSA math, also given to all third graders. This does not determine retention. So the scores work the same way, 1 through 5, 3 being proficient, 4 and 5 being above proficiency, and 2 and 1 being below. If they receive a 1, they will still move on, but it notifies you, the parent, that they are struggling with math and you may need to get some outside assistance to support them. They also have multi-select questions in math, so they will have to test each one. In the past, this has been a computer-based assessment, but they switched it to paper-based, so your child will be able to work things out and have everything in front of them. So it will be paper-based this year. Preparing for the FSA, I've mentioned practicing fact fluency. Ways you can do that are downloading an app to make it fun, getting flashcards, doing an online computer program. Also tracking your child's progress, being aware of what's going on, communicating with your teacher, and looking at what they're bringing home for homework and seeing how the math is being taught, because it's very different. And if you're confused, you can always ask your teacher, your child's teacher, for support. And multiplication is extremely important. They must know their multiplication facts, so fact fluency is extremely important. Any questions on FSA math? FSA Practice, I mentioned the FSA website portal. You'll go on fsaassessments.org/students and families, and you will go to your child's grade level. There will be practice passages and questions, practice math questions, and you can even incorporate that in a study plan for your child. Doing 1 question a day even would be very helpful. So there are many sample questions and practice tests. In terms of retention, so this is one of the last main points. Third grade retention, what happens if my child gets a 1 on the FSA ELA assessment? There are a series of steps that will be taken. They receive a 1. First step will be they'll look at iReady. They'll need to have a certain score on iReady. If they don't meet that score on iReady, they'll look at the unit assessments that I discussed as tracking progress. They'll look at the average of all of those unit assessments throughout the year. If they don't meet it through that, then they'll take a performance-based portfolio where they go every day and take a series of reading passages and questions. They'll need to get a certain percentage on it. If they don't meet that criteria, they'll take something called a SAT-10, and they will be expected to get a lower score. It's an extremely lower score, so it gives them kind of a shot to move on. So if they fail that, then they'll go to summer school and they'll retake that SAT-10 at the end of summer school, and there'll be a lower percentage for them to pass it at. If they don't meet any of those criteria, they will be retained in third grade. So as you can see, there are many different steps that will be taken. It's not just one test that determines it all. It's quite a few different things, including iReady and unit assessments, that are given throughout the entire year. Any questions on retention and promotion? Okay. testing accommodations for students with disabilities. Okay, based on 504 or IEP, if your student falls into one of these categories, different accommodations that could be given are small group testing accommodations, schedule, they'll have a schedule throughout their test, time limits, breaks, maybe they'll be asked to respond in a different way, a verbal response if they have issues with writing. There might be a braille if you're, a braille response. Presentation may be different, larger print, different colors. So there are many different accommodations that can be given on the assessment. I've also seen it done one-on-one assessment. So that would be something for you to discuss with your child's teacher and the IEP team to determine the best accommodations for that. And it will also stick with them throughout the years if you have a 504 or an IEP. Any questions on the testing accommodations? Okay. So my last point before I go, FSA first year of standardized testing, students must be prepared for the standardized tests that they will be taking throughout the following years that are also important, SAT, ACT, any of those tests that prepare students for college. So this is just the first step in supporting your child and making it as less stressful as possible is important. Being positive with your children, making them realize that it's important, but understanding that there's a time that this is children that they need to focus on other things that kids focus on. So just providing that balance to them, and you can always talk to your child's teacher about how to create the best plan to do that. So if you have any questions, I will provide my email for you on the handout that I've given you, and you can email me any questions that you might have. And I would also encourage you to talk to your child's teacher and form that triad relationship that I talked about. So I hope that this presentation gave you some insight and information on the important aspects of FSA, what it is, why it's important, retention, promotion, different types of questions that are on the test, and about scores. So let me know if you have any questions. Good night, everybody.